So I just want to say, I just want to say a thing. A friend of mine asked, what happened to you? What happened to you, dear? Are you okay? Cucaracho. um, yeah, the last. This is probably been one of the most flip around months I've had in my entire life, I would say. Like, more than a month ago, I was just over a month ago, I was so depressed. So bone achingly, skin tearingly, head smashingly depressed. It was astronomical, the worst I have ever been in my life. It's the fourth time I've had a big bout of depression, and it was just crippling. And what happened essentially was I got to a point where I'm like, I'm in so much pain. I'm in so much pain. What am I going to do? How the fuck am I going to get out of this one? And I just sat with myself and I'm like, where is this coming from? Now, I had been ruminating on my depression for a long time, and essentially where it was coming from was, and a big part reinforced by, was I had a skin rash that I've had for more than like a year and a half that didn't go away. And I've done 6 courses of antibiotics, different antibiotics, and it still remained persistent. And what that did to my psyche was that it just reinforced this belief that I have of myself that no matter how hard I try, nothing I do is ever going to succeed. Because things always go wrong. They always go wrong. And now I have this physical skin condition to prove that it doesn't matter if I go out and I try to be active, doesn't matter if I be happy or positive think or whatever, I get physically sick. It doesn't matter how much mental acuity, mental thinking, mental cleverness I develop, which has been a big part of my strategy to cope with all of this my whole life. None of that is working. So what do I do? And as I looked at that belief, and in the midst of just this kind of, why are you so worthless, stupid fucking in the midst of all that, I said, body, I demand you show me where this started. Show me now. Motherfucker. And it did. It took me back to a scene in my childhood where I was learning my 3 times tables with my mum. I was playing around and just kind of learning to express myself and enjoy myself. I didn't want to do 3 times tables. Dad comes back after a certain amount of time, sees that I haven't been paying attention, and he pushes me and wins me, and it is terrifying to me. And I just wanted to have fun. I didn't understand what's going on. I'm winded. I don't understand what's going on with my body. And so just instinctually, I just run and I hide behind a closet, and I end up staying there for 5-6 hours or something like that. And not that I was consciously processing what was going on, but unconsciously, in order to survive that in my mind, because this is my core wound, guys. This is like literally the first definitive story I told myself that my personality was then built on top of afterwards, right? And we all have that, because that's how the mind works. That's how we work. We're computers, and we can program ourselves either way, positive or negative. And we're always going to get positive. We're always going to get negative stuff, because that's just life. That's just part of being a child. The real trick of becoming a self-actualized adult is confronting your core wounds and making peace with them. And like, it's ongoing, trust me. I'm not like some fucking guru who's fucking sorted the shit out. I haven't, but I have found some really fun and useful tools. And I was looking at this story, and I stayed there for 5 and 6 hours because all I wanted from my parents, this is the big part, all that I wanted as a child was I just wanted love. I just wanted fun. I just wanted to play with my parents so much. And suddenly I'm not getting it. Like that was literally my greatest want in the world at that time. And like for most of us, right? And so now that had happened, how do I deal with it? The way I deal with it was I stayed in the closet behind the closet where no one could get to me for 5, 6 hours, trying to evoke a sense of pity, because I'm like, maybe if they see how upset I am and how much effort I've gone into just hiding and staying here, maybe they'll love me. So essentially that created what's called a pity program. So from then on, the essential way that I got love that I was craving and wanted was through pity. And that's just the mind of the child. Now, as you grow up, of course, you completely forget these stories. But the thing is, the story is still there. It's still running in your unconsciousness. And it'll percolate through. And because it's not resolved, there's no closure to that. It just remains this loose wire that's just spitting out electricity that percolates in through self-sabotage. The self-sabotage happens because in a way, and your unconscious enjoys self-sabotaging you, because in a way it gets you a sense of pleasure, because at least in my case, when I created that story, it was to get me love, right? So that's what my consciousness is thinking. I get love by running a pity program. And so that's where the pleasure comes in, because your mind, the way it's computed, it'll stick to what is pleasurable and it'll stick to what is not pleasurable. So this is why it's hard to find the core wounds, because they're hidden under this layer of sick pleasure. And that's what the shadow is, really, is sick pleasure. And that is connected to that idea and motif of, the devil like seduces you into evil because it feels really good. Well, it's kind of on that same thing. You can trick the mind with pleasure into negative behaviors. But it's a trick. That's what you have to understand. It's a trick, because ultimately you're not going to get the deep, nourishing fulfillment that you want. It will only just be pleasure-based, and it'll be very needs-based. Like you get something and then it'll evaporate because you're not satisfied by it, and then you move to the next thing, and that's the cycle, right? So as I'm hating on myself and all that jazz, I took a nice cool iced tea and asked what was my belief. Well, what did I believe? And it was that's what came to me. And from that point, now that I had identified it, I had articulated it, I was aware of it. I could actually do something about it. And I first of all, I just started using affirmations. Essentially, there are 4 things I want you to think about. Four things we want to think about. There's the inspiration, which is what is immediately apparent to you. So in that moment, what was immediately apparent was that I had created a story when I was a kid. Then there's the belief. What the belief was? The belief was that I cannot get love if I don't use pity, right? Then that led into this affirmation, which is, what am I telling myself? And it tells myself that what I was telling myself in that time is that I'm worthless, I'm useless, I'm a piece of shit, I'm absolutely no contribution to society whatsoever. Even the contribution that I am, which is, my insights and whatever, are just pointless and pathetic because you're ugly and no one wants to see you anyway. And even if you do reach out to your friends, you're going to be a drain on them because you're running this pity program, and ultimately no one's going to help you. And so it was just this negative cycle. So that's what I was telling myself. And then the action that was resulting in this, you see how this is all kind of a circle. The action, of course, was me hating on myself, because from there, the action I would hate on myself, which would reaffirm my inspiration, which is my impression of the now, which would then reinforce my belief, which would then reinforce what I would tell myself, which would then reinforce my action. It was literally the spiral that was getting out of control into serious like self-abuse. And if I didn't have the lifeline of my parents and my family to, as a consequence of me actually taking my own life, if I didn't believe that I would devastate them, I would have killed myself. This is very real, guys. This is very what would have actually happened. That's where I'm at, was at, right? And I've gone from there like a month or two ago to here, where I'm so excited because what I've discovered is this wheel, is this paradigm: inspiration, belief, affirmation, action. Inspiration, what is my impression of the now? Belief, what do I believe about myself? Affirmation, what am I telling myself right now? And action, what am I doing? And that painted a map. And this is what I've been working on for like the past month, or past 3 weeks, and I'm writing it, and I'm writing a book, and I'm going to make a business out of this, and many things are unfolding. It's giving me so much passion and so much joy. But it's a cycle. You see how it's a cycle. And the way you break the cycle, the way I broke the cycle then was I'm like, what is going on? I saw and identified what was happening. And then I didn't understand this full framework, but I did know that affirmations were a way to change belief. And so I literally took action, but action started changing my affirmations, which was, okay, I forgive myself. I essentially, because the pity program came from a sense of worthlessness, and I literally just flipped it around. I literally just did the opposite of the affirmation, and I said, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of love. And I was literally visualizing the instance in my head. And then I wrote a series of different affirmations. It's like, I am worthy of love. I'm ready to let this go. I apply unconditional forgiveness with this. Now, the way to make that stick, because if this is a core wound, it is you've had your whole life of emotional and psychic charge that's built up, that's really, and you're putting little affirmations on this. They're like, pa-ching, pa-ching. You understand what I'm saying? You want to get into that core. It's like an electron valency or something, like in an atom. You want to break into it, right? And if you're just doing little affirmations, do it. Now, the thing is, these things are like water. And like Bruce Lee said that, water can carve through mountains. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter how dense this is. If you are constantly repeating affirmations, eventually it will crack open and it will get there, right? Eventually, right? That is just the nature of how things are. Don't think it's pointless. Don't think it's helpless. That's not nature. That's not how it works, right? Because our minds and our psyche, if anything, are byproducts of the nature of the universe itself, because we are the universe itself. Therefore, our minds and our psyche therefore represent the nature of the universe itself, right? And that's how I was able to get with this formula. And then that brought me to astrology, funny enough, like different patterns and archetypal characters that represent these journeys in consciousness, and tarot cards and stuff like that. Which has been really, really fascinating. And that's what I'm going to do with my work and stuff like that. And I'm going to publish a book about all that stuff, I think. That'll be quite good, getting a lot of material. And so we're here in the circle, tangents. And I changed the affirmation. Oh, and the hack to get quick and rapid transformation is why. Why is the most fundamental question in terms of dealing with your mind and your ego that you can use. Because your mind, your egoic construct, just essentially the experience of your identity, if it's a computer program, the key code, like the master code that can unlock the whole program is why. Because it's one of the first instinctual things that the mind asks is why, because that's how you that's how you survive in life. You know, when you're a kid, like, that hurt. Why did that hurt? You know, you touch a flame or something like that. Or like, why this? Why that? This is why. Kids say why all the time, which is infuriating, because that's how the mind actually latches onto things, investigate things, keeps you safe, and also what feeds and learns you in. Feeds you and allows you to learn and bring things into your awareness and your learning. But the thing is, it can go. It's neutral. You understand? Why has no meaning. It's just it's a direction. It's a function. It's like a programming tool. So if you say an affirmation like, I am worthy, I am helpful, your mind is going to say, well, why are you worthy again? Like, why is that exactly? You want to fill me out there? I see a bit of discrepancy going on here. And, there's a lot of evidence, physical evidence and life evidence to say that you're not. So I don't think you are worthy. And because I want to protect you, because I'm your mind and I love you very much, I'm going to sabotage you and make you removed from life and give you a skin rash, because that will induce a sense of pity where people will pity you and you get what you want. But of course that's not working, because it's the mind of a child, right? So the way you hijack that, the way that you reprogram that, is by asking why. It's like, why do I unconditionally forgive myself? Why am I in total love with myself? Why do I unconditionally forgive that child? Why do I understand completely why it did it? And why am I easily and effortlessly taking responsibility for it in my life? So when you start using why in that sense, you are literally creating, it's like a spell, like a magical spell. Like, if your mind is the universe in this kind of metaphorical sense, and spells would change the universe, like, Flipendo. That's from a Harry Potter game. No. What's the word? Excalibur. No, not Excalibur. Where they flick the wands off. Stupefy. No, not stupefy. Anyway, you see what I'm saying. They would cast a spell. It would make an impact on the environment. If the world of Harry Potter is in your head, essentially, you saying why is your wand, and why at the end of at the beginning of any sentence becomes a spell with which you can program the mindscape of your consciousness. And essentially, to a T, that's what's changed in my life. And I've just literally, in almost every waking moment, I'm literally just saying why, and then inputting the program that I want to be thinking. And, things like I keep fucking losing my pens. Seriously, like, I lose my pens all the fucking time. And I'm like, why do I why am I effortlessly in rapture at finding my pen? Or something like wanky or something like that. It's like, why does it come to me like that? And the pen hasn't been working. I mean, it has worked a couple of times, but I realized that in some weird way that me losing the pens has actually been like this lesson for me to actually be focusing on other things and just focusing on the flow. And then when I least expect it, that's when the pen comes back. It's been very, very interesting. But that's what's happened. That's me. Anyway, I hope that helps, and I love you. Ciao.